Just go straight to it and introduce the panel that we have here. Let's start off with the executive producer, Joaquim Do Santos. We have co-executive producer, Montgomery. And we have head writer, Hendrick. And before they all sit down, we may as well bring in the pilot, the paladin of the Red Lion, Stephen. Before we get in, I want to go back a ways. We haven't gotten to speak to them at Comic-Con before. This is the first time Voltron's been to Comic-Con. So I wanted to ask each of them what their kind of experience was with both the old Voltron and how they got to create what we all know and love now. Yeah, just a quick.
We'll give you an abbreviated version. I'll give you mine. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, I grew up with it. Absolutely loved it growing up. Bought the toys. I think I told you. I actually tricked a close friend of the family, almost an uncle. He was like, "Hey, I'll buy you one of those new fancy robot toys," and I was like, "Yes, you will." And we went to the toy store, and $100 later, with a look of complete desperation on his face, he was so guilt-ridden, and he bought it for me. And yeah, I mean, I love it. I was a huge fan growing up.
You want me to tell the story? Yeah. All right. So, he asked us this at an interview, and I had neglected to tell this story because I felt like it wasn't the time or place. But I'm going to tell you guys. So, when I was young, I was a little too young to really remember key moments from this episode or the episodes of Voltron. But there is one moment that I remembered with crystal clarity, and it's probably because it traumatized me as a child. But I went back and I rewatched the show, and surprisingly, a lot of the shots are exact to what I remember, but it's all the guys kind of running in this beautiful field of flowers, and they're rolling around, they're laughing, and then it cuts to Allura, and she's by like the stagecoach, and she's waving, and everyone's happy. It's like the greatest day on Eris, and then Hagar's cat shows up and just stabs her with a knife, and she dies. And and it freaked me the frick out. She's alive, and it was all like a whole Snow White thing, and Lotor tried to kidnap her, and because he was all creepy like that. But that scene, only scene that I really remember from being a kid. Other than that, like I remembered, there was a robot, and there were cool pilots, and there was Allura in pink. But that moment, cat stabbing, I remember with crystal clarity.
Yeah, sadly, I didn't have anyone buy me a giant Voltron as a child. All I had was a Fisher-Price space shuttle. But I don't remember a world without Voltron. Voltron has always been around as far as I'm concerned.
For me, when I was a kid, I grew up on a lot of things like that. I grew up on Voltron, I grew up on Gotcha Man, I grew up on, what else was this, Nekando Bui, that guy, the Korean one. Just robots, assembling robots were great. And for me, that's where, when someone said we're gonna do this, and when you guys said, can you guys come in to read for this, I was like, yeah, hell yeah. And then to play Keith has been super fun, so yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think we're all sort of nostalgia hounds. We're all sort of trying to get back to that place every time we work on an episode.
Okay, so we saw, there are big cheers there. How have you gathered in the fan response from the first season? I'm sure everyone here has seen the whole first season, so what's been the fan response just to you guys personally?
I mean, it's been overwhelming, to be honest with you. I mean, we were hoping to see some cosplay. We got some cosplay. It's incredible. Incredible. But I shared this picture sort of with our crew, and it's this table at work that we have. It was 3 weeks after the show had aired, and Anime Expo had just happened, and it was just littered with amazing art that all you fans had created. And it was just, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to see, and it's overwhelming to feel the positive that we received.
I'll ask Lauren, what's it like to finally have this series kind of out in the world? You guys were holding back on some things definitely before, but now.
Yeah, it's incredible. Obviously the greatest thing is we no longer have to lie about there not being women in the show. We had like so many interviews like, you guys are sexist, why don't you have women? And we're like, nothing sexist, I promise, just watch the show. And so yeah, Pitch is a girl, everybody, spoiler alert. It was one of the first decisions made when we set out to even make the show. We weren't even actually hired to make the show. We were like, what if we could make the show? And I was like, can we make Pitch a girl? And Morgan's like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, sweet.
Was it Pitch already a girl? I don't know.
Yeah. Unclear.
It's a little unclear. But I mean, I remember you guys, the actors, you guys had like a moratorium on even saying you could be part, you were part of Voltron, or that Voltron was in production, or...
Yeah. We didn't get to talk about it at all. And I actually do remember that idea about Pitch 2, which is like in that room when we all got together for the first couple episodes to record, and seeing Bex there and her being like, the character's gonna be a girl. We're like, oh, that's awesome. And we can't wait till, like, the reveal was excellent too. But that's the kind of cool stuff that I'm sure you're gonna ask questions about that I don't want to get into. So.
And Bex was better at hiding it than all of us.
Yeah.
Friggin' Joaquim and I just ruined it at WonderCon. We're like,
Between the two of us, we said she like 10 times easily.
And Bex is like, he does this, he does that. I'm like, God.
There's a shot of Tim right when we're each saying she, and Tim's just looking at the table. Ruining it.
Second delay just for throwdown use.
Yeah.
Well, I asked Tim the same question, and because you've written a lot of stuff, what have you been shocked about in terms of the fan feedback?
Oh man, I just can't believe how, just the volume, just how much fan feedback there is. It's insane. I mean, because this is a show that's been around for a long time and through many iterations, and people are still just diehards for it. So it's awesome. Thank you very much for just watching it. To work on the show for years and not have it out is it's a killer. It's just like you're sitting in the office all day, like, when's anyone going to see this?
Yeah.
And,
My family's like, what show are you working on? I'm like, you're still working on that? Yeah. Where can I watch it? You can't.
It's like pestering you guys constantly. Like, when did this come out? When did this come out? When did this come out? It must have been so annoying. I'm so sorry.
And then it's just so trying. But even when, we knew we were getting around the date, everybody's sort of figuring out the right time to say it, so we couldn't give an official date. It was, it's all the way up to the bitter end. We're like, we're kind of working on something. It's got a big robot.
The coolest thing for me personally was seeing all the text messages that I got of like all of my friends who are my age and a little bit older being like, what do you, wait, you're doing this? And then you're doing Keith? What? And then they're freaking out. I got like a whole barrage of texts as soon as it came out and it was announced. And it showed that, one, it's timeless, and two, grown people love cartoons.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so what are some of your standout moments from this season? And we might be able to do this visually if we.
Absolutely. So we're going to show some clips and we're going to talk about them. And first up is, I think, one of probably all of our favorites, and definitely one of my favorites, which is Pidge revealing to the team that she is in fact a girl. Roll the clip.
So we have someone up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Tim actually wrote that script, like start to finish, or that scene, and I remember, reading it and just really loving it. It was so darling, and it was such kind of a non-issue that she was a girl. What she contributed to the team didn't change between when she was masquerading as boy and when she was known to be a girl. And it's just so sweet that this little reference that hunks make to man up, which is kind of a gender-specific term, he doesn't mean it that way, but it's a little nudge that she gets to kind of remind her, like, oh yeah, I'm kind of holding something back, and if we're really going to be a great team, I just gotta let everyone know. And then just the idea that Karan would have no idea. He was like, I don't know. And Laura herself, she was kind of surprised by it because she had no idea. She's like, maybe this is just what human boys look like. They look like little feminine creatures. I don't know.
Well, she also had the gossipy mice.
Yeah.
Those mice.
Yeah.
It's like the Inquirer.
The unsung heroes of that scene are space mice.
That's right.
That's a great space mice.
Okay, so we related to the next one.
Yeah, and so this next clip is my favorite moment from season 1, and it is the moment where Laura makes the choice to kind of jettison her father's corrupted AI. I know, it tears me up every time, but now you have to cry with me, so here we go.
Before we roll this, I gotta say that while it might be soft and have this touching moment, Lauren was a tyrant with making sure that this scene was exactly right. She's like, no, it's gotta be extra sparkles and they gotta slow the whole sparkle scenario.
There had to
going
be a hug and cracking
Yeah.
and then destroying of the vibe.
So while you all feel the emotions, we felt different emotions. I'll also say, I just had a kid not too long ago, and whenever I hear that baby cry, it gets me every time. The baby cry gets me, man. It gets me.
Eugene, are you out there? Eugene, Board of Dancing,
Right here.
our director. I just kind of said, oh, hey, Eugene, I kind of want this. I kind of
No,
want
she didn't
this.
say I kind of want it. She said sparkles. Sparkles all over the place.
Then he just did it, and it was beautiful.
That's the cool stuff though about this show is like, for us as actors, we don't necessarily always get to see the final product right off the bat. We instead just acted out and hope that we did a good job for you guys to animate something too. And then, but what's great is every time we revisit it, whether it's an ADR or whether it's the final product that we see, you realize that there's so much detail in this particular show. Even in just the work that goes into animating it even more fluidly, or like the word to say, fluidly, or even going into details, more sparkles. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff that you take it that one step further that makes it as beautiful as it is. It's awesome. Yeah.
One of the things that I really liked about this, the whole first run, is how we got into the past of Voltron, Allura's family, King Alfor, that kind of stuff. And one of the reasons why we had to kind of, I think, kill him in cold blood on the show is that they were riding around in the ship with this AI of the guy who had all the answers that we didn't want answered. So it's just kind of like, well, why don't they just go ask King Alfor? I'll tell you why. He's corrupt and now he's dead. There's no answers there.
It's a bit of like a Superman sort of solve all.
That was the point where Tim was always making, like, we can't have this guy. He's just going to answer every question. There's no mystery. We got to get rid of him. And we did it in amazing fashion.
Baby Aurora. The next clip is who's favorite?
That's me. I'm sorry. You were the next one coming. Right. So this is, they're all fantastic. This is sort of our homage to the original series. If you guys remember, poor Sven. He took one for the team, had to go to Space Hospital, the Hendrick Hagar. And we sort of wanted to tease out that same imagery for fans of the original series. As soon as you see Hagar go into her sort of multiple forms, it's like, what's gonna happen? But yeah, I gotta say here before we, sort of run out of time here, Studio Mir are the studio that we work with at DreamWorks that does all the animation for this show. And scenes like the Allura scene and scenes action-packed, like the one you'll see here with Hagar, aren't possible without them. We've got a couple members of the team here. If you guys will just stand up real quick. It's because of them that the show looks this good. Keto.
Very easy.
And also, I think the cool thing there is, you hear her say, you could have been our greatest weapon. It's sort of that alluding to that there's more kind of going on behind the scenes with the Galra. What's in that hand? What's going on with the hand?
Speaking of a hand, we have another clip that it was someone's favorite or someone really liked it.
These are always kind of, I think, favorite, like the comedy bits. And I always feel like it's kind of like the scene in Jaws where they're just like floating around on the boat and singing, and then you hear the story about the Indianapolis, and it's just kind of like setting the stage because right after this is just going to be killer shark action. And so I always love to have these scenes in there where we just see our crew hanging out. And to see the team that, met together in the garrison and just got launched into space, just to have them kind of hanging out for a second and they're just like, what's we doing out here? It's just kind of like a quick check-in with our characters. So this is one of those scenes where we see kind of our original garrison trio hanging out. That's
a scene handled by our great director, Steve. Steven, where are you? It's recognizable from the big smile on Lance's face. It's a very Steven drawing
Yeah,
right
if
there.
you guys ever see that in an episode, that's definitely a Steve On episode. Steve, also famous amongst our crew for reading a line in a very specific way, in which Jeremy and Steve heard it in the booth and were like, "This is amazing," because sometimes our directors have to do scratch for the actors. Yeah, like temporary recording. They heard it and they were like, "This guy is amazing. We got to bring him onto the show." And Steve got incredibly embarrassed because they did a picture perfect sort of imitation of him.
I wish you guys could hear it with the ADR. It was pretty spot on. It was perfect. What was the dialogue again? It was it was like bring the cheese or something. Just bring the cheese. You guys wrote that line.
Bring the cheesy heat.
Yeah.
And then our last one is sort of the one that I love all these character moments, and I think we have incredible characters, and it makes you care about the action that much more because the characters are so sort of thoughtful and thought out, and but you can't forget that at the end of the day, Voltron's got to punch a lot of things. And so for me, when I was a kid, when I got that die-cast Voltron toy, he did a lot of punching, and this is sort of what I was seeing in my head, and it's what Studio Mir and our team at DreamWorks were able to bring to life. So yeah, Voltron, we call this Voltron Punch. Not to give too many shout outs here all day long, but we gotta give, huge shout outs to Ki-hyun Ryu, our supervising producer over here. He storyboarded that sequence and Studio Mir did the animation so beautifully. And that, literally, Voltron just took out an armada of ships in space. And then I remember this script coming in and you guys pitching the idea. He punches into the ship with both fists and then forms the sword inside the ship. It was like the coolest idea ever.
Coolest idea we've ever had, and we haven't done it yet. So.
That's it, it's over. It's all done.
But now, because I've seen it so many times, and probably so have you, the music is pretty, it elicits a response, just hearing it. So can you discuss a little bit about the music and, and is there a soundtrack available?
There's a soundtrack available for all the music of Voltron. That's actually gotten quite a number of requests online, and it's out now. And
iTunes.
Yeah, you guys can check it out on iTunes. We're, super excited about the music and the work that Brad Breek's done on it is just amazing. It's sort of, without being on the nose, sort of like 80 Cent, it sort of calls back to that time and gives people of a certain age, sort of brings out those emotions of nostalgia and fun that they had watching the show. But at the same time, it's totally contemporary and it works for what's really appropriate and popular now. We couldn't be happier with it. So yeah, definitely go check out the soundtrack. And I think we might be handing out cards of some sort with
giveaways for 2 song downloads at some point at our sign-in. Boom, URL's coming, so you guys get some awesome downloads of free music. And I think they're exclusive country songs that are not on the normal soundtrack. Yeah. Something exclusive just for you guys. That's right. You're welcome.
Okay, so we're gonna skip the villains, kind of. I want to go more straight to this. Well, I also want to give you guys a chance, to ask a lot of questions too. So I want to talk about the ending. That was more than a cliffhanger. That was like
Stallone was at the end of that episode, like,
So first, can we talk about the ending, and then can we talk about a hopeful beginning or continuation, or I don't know.
A very hopeful continuation because coming late 2016?
16, yes.
I lose track nowadays. Okay, late 2016, season 2.
Everybody would ask, and we were like, well, we're still employed at DreamWorks, so I don't know what's going on. It's weird. It's really strange.
A lot of lying about not knowing that we had more episodes. But when we when the writers were writing out these episodes, we already knew that we had a season 2 coming. So we worked in a cliffhanger just to torture everyone. Not specifically to torture everyone. But it's funny, it ended up being a little more abrupt than we'd planned, because on a later episode, like one of the episodes after, we'd actually kind of had those ending scenes that were like, okay, we'll slide them in here because we don't have enough time here, and then when we get the animation back, we'll stick them on the end. But it ended up like our deliveries
didn't work out, and it was like we just
didn't
ended
even
up.
have the scenes in by the time we had to shove that episode out the door.
So
Like, oh, it's abrupt, I'm sorry.
There was a slightly softer landing planned originally, and then we ended up just
It's just kind of like, glitch.
It's coming, guys.
You'll see the ending of season 1 in the beginning of season 2.
Is there a microphone or somewhere for last questions? Okay, you guys can start lining up. I'm gonna ask this one question that we've got kind of from Twitter. While you're lining up, I'll ask this question from Twitter. It's from @OptimusDime. Optimus Dime. And I'll ask it because, the first thing he says is that assuming there's a second season, which we now know there is, the team will meet other alien species. Is there a chance the Voltmarians will be seen again?
There's always a chance. We love our aliens and we want to kind of keep them involved, but we can neither confirm nor deny that there will be more
But I mean, the
Voltmarians.
Voltmarians are definitely really cool characters. Yeah.
Love them very much.
Let's go first here.
Before you start your question, I just want to pop in here. We brought a little special gift to the people who ask questions.
Sorry, guys.
When we break out the shows in the writer's room, we put little cards up on the bulletin board, and each one has a little story beat. And I think we have some writers here. I think Mitch is here, Mitch Iverson's here, Mark Beamister, I think, is here, the living legend Josh Hamilton is here. Anyway, we put these little cards up. There's like 10. We break all the stories out into 3 acts. And so we brought some in, and they're signed, and they have special Space Mice stickers created by Lauren herself. And so you'll get one of these, along with this Voltron comic book that Mitch alluded to. So there you go. What's your question now? Thanks, Ken.
All right. Well, first off, this is amazing to have so much talent just in one room. And congratulations, guys, on getting to produce this show and just rising up the ranks. It's been awesome to see you guys climb. And my question is mainly just more on the production side of working with Netflix and DreamWorks kind of partnering with that. Like, has that changed the landscape of how the pipeline works or anything like that with what they request from you? And especially since it's all going to be streamed, in one go?
I mean, not necessarily pipeline. I mean, I think we use you know, kind of a modified version of the same pipeline we've always used. I feel weird saying pipeline so much in a sentence, but pipeline. But I think as far as content goes, Tim, you can speak more to this, Lauren, you can speak to this. You know, we're able to tell bigger stories for sure because the orders are sort of
They're way more serialized than when we're on networks. Networks tend to want something that can be rerun in any order, and people don't need to know where they're at. They can just watch the show. But with Netflix, it allows us to make one of those amazing stories that just goes from start to finish, has a lot of heavy serialization, and like Joaquim has said, you can put stuff in the beginning that's going to pay off later because we get to do that.
Yeah. Actually, when we were working on Airbender, the network would complain if it got too serious. It was a complaint. It was like it was something wrong. We needed standalone episodes that could run in any order, and that's completely changed the industry.
So we hope it's a trend that continues, by the way, because we
it's
love
awesome.
telling, you know, big epic stories.
There you go. Here's your card. Lance Pucker's blue line gets jacked, and hot girl flies away. Lance all alone.
Hi guys, thank you for the Palmera, thank you for Bolin, thank you for all of that. I love the moments in between where you're very serious, yet you throw a mouse that's overeating. Or, you know, like Paige is programming and then Hunt is using a robot to smack plants. This might be a legal kind of question. Would you be allowed to homage the original Voltron theme song? You know, the dun dun
That
dun.
is definitely, we can say now, is sort of like a legal question.
All right, other question. Have you seen
The
Prince
answer we've
Lotor?
gotten is no.
Negative.
Legally cannot use the original music.
How about this? Have you seen Prince Lotor?
That is a spoiler that we are not going to tell you.
Thanks for asking.
Pitch C. Sindak. Quiznak. There you go.
Thanks, man.
Hi, I have just two things. One, thank you so much for the series, and I'm sure you don't have anything to do with the dubbing for Latin America, but it was amazing. Thank you very much. And one question: thinking about that you're leaving a lot of plot threads. How many seasons do you think you will need? I know you're not you wouldn't know if you're going to make that many seasons, but how many seasons do you think you will need to solve that plot threads you left?
I mean, I don't know that, honestly, if given the chance, we'd just keep working on the show. Like the show would just keep evolving and the story would continue. It's one of, you know, it's a dream project, so I don't know that we can give you a specific number. We definitely legally can't give you that specific number. Yeah, I mean, you know, stories would continue to evolve, new stories would come up, new characters would continue to get created if we had our way, so, yeah.
25 seasons.
25 seasons. We'll resolve the mice drama in 25 seasons.
Mice can go on forever. Here's your card. Punk and Shay see stars, then sunrise. Sparkle, sparkle. There you go, you got it.
And by the way, these are the actual cards that were up on the wall. They've been up
Yeah.
till now, until Tim took them down.
There's a lot of Voltron crew dust on those cards.
Yeah.
Hi,
Dude, assassino.
It's your.
so thank you for pitch.
You're welcome. That's all. Dream works for pitch, really.
Yeah.
Because they allowed us to do it, and we're all very happy.
And well, like in the first season, we saw that even though there's the goal right empire everywhere, like there's still people going about their lives, like the scavengers. So are we gonna see like a bigger world, like how in Avatar, and especially Korra, like there's this big diverse world that's going on in the background? Are we gonna get to see more like things like that?
Timon.
Yes, we are.
Boom.
One of the things that we really wanted to do right from the start was take the show on the road, get that castle ship flying around, see other worlds. You know, I think Palmyra is the start. The lines are separated. I mean, they may go different places that are interesting to you. Just throw that out there. Yeah, I mean, I love going to see different alien races and all that stuff, and also seeing more of the Empire, which I think is a really cool, story to get into. And so we will continue to explore all that stuff. So you sit tight, and your card. Pidge is a girl. Told ya. That's nice. There you go.
Before the next question is asked, we only have a couple more that we can do because we want to show you something else. So I don't want people standing. I want you guys all standing there. So we'll get like two more questions, and then we'll have to. I know it's a huge line. I know.
Can we cut it off? Is it what? No.
Yeah.
At three.
Okay, we're gonna cut it off at 3. Ash. Is that Ash? Okay. We're gonna cut it off at Ash because we want to show you guys the cards.
We'll see how many cards we have left.
Maybe. But I don't want you guys to stand back there if you go.
Sorry, guys, but we love you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I love the writing and just the drama is just fantastic. The scene with Allura and her father was just enough to make me and my friend just stop for a moment and just we needed to recover before we could continue. And it just kept on roller coastering. And again, thank you so much for such wonderful writing. These are just fun questions, but is there any chance that Duran will have a moment of being able to transform like Allura?
I think, I don't know.
Clearly.
That's clear spoiler territory. We're getting crazy.
Maybe.
If the occasion calls for it, it'll happen.
But Karan is one of our favorites too, so he'll get some moments for sure.
Yeah.
And one more question.
Oh,
Not
another
a lot,
question.
not a lot, but who'd be the better chef, Ran or Punk? There's no challenge. Iron Chef style, who would win?
Well, I guess it depends on who the audience is. If Eric wins, I think definitely Hunk. But if you're going with like all day, it's great. We don't know. What do they like?
I think universe-wide Hunk is the winner.
Boom.
For you, Haxus takes Lance Priz. Shiro surrenders. The castle falls. Chilling.
Oh, we gotta get Asher. Oh, you're the best.
One question. Why did you have to make like the vendors get separated? Why?
DreamWorks exec? Well, if they never get separated, then you're never going to have that good feeling when they come back together. So, I give you the card that didn't happen, Zarkon versus Barbarian standoff. That's something that never happened on the show.
That was a pitch that almost happened.
They can't all make it in.
One last surprise with you. Wanted to make a couple announcements that Joaquim, Lauren, and Tim, and supervising producer
Ki-Hyun Ryu.
Yeun will be signing in Autograph Alley tomorrow morning from about 10:30 to noon. There's also the first issue of the monthly comic series from Lion Forge is available now, written by Tim Hendrick here and Mitch Iverson. And they'll be doing a signing at Lions Forge booth 2300 on Saturday from 2 to 3. That music download, there's a bit.ly, like short link if you want, bit.ly/Voltron Music. Simple to remember. Go on there, download some free songs. We also
guys, for sure do check it out because the music,
We're so proud of it, and Brad and Brian, the two composers, are just, they're amazing human beings. They're not here, but in spirit.
We also have some, there's some original artwork that's inspired by the show that's available from the Hero Complex Gallery, and it's at hcgart.com. So now we have a look at
Season 2!
We want to thank everybody for coming, and thank you for this panel, and it was great that they showed up, and I hope you all watch season 2 coming later this year.
Thanks, guys, for coming. Thanks to Steven for showing up, too. He's got the busiest con schedule ever.